Hey, what's going on? So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about round 2 of the PPP, otherwise known as the Paycheck Protection Program. So the Paycheck Protection Program is a government-funded thing through the Small Business Association, otherwise known as the SBA. And basically, there's a ton of money that is available for small businesses. So if you are struggling right now with making your business float during this whole coronavirus thing, then there's money for you. This video is being recorded on January 8th, 2021. The original round 1 of the PPP was part of the CARES Act back in March of 2020. So it's been a few months, and there was actually some money left over from round 2, which this is kind of technically round 3, but they're calling it round 2. They just added more funds to round 1 earlier, and I've done a bunch of videos on this already with the first round and all that. So if you're interested in any of that stuff, you can pour through my other videos on here. Just search for the PPP and you'll see a bunch of videos pop up. I'll probably put a playlist down in the description as well. Maybe it'll be a card up here in the corner too, so check that stuff out. And more than anything today, I want to just kind of pass on information that I've got. A disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an accountant or anything like that. I'm just a contractor. I'm just a guy who struggled with dealing with this PPP thing back in March when everything got shut down. And I keep getting these emails from the SBA and from the lending company that I went through to apply for my PPP. So I'm just kind of passing on information. I'm going to talk about some of the stuff in the emails that I got, as well as a couple websites that I'm going to refer to. And I'm going to put links for this down in the description for all these websites that I'm going to read from. One of them is right from the Small Business Association's website. So there's stuff down there you can check out. And I also want to say right off the bat, like, you got to use your best judgment. Talk to an accountant or a lawyer or whomever, because this stuff is extremely complicated, and the forgiveness stuff is extremely complicated. I have a very close friend who applied, and I think he got $10,000 in PPP money, and they were like, "Yeah, no problem, you'll be forgiven and everything." And he did everything according to what he was supposed to do. He worked with his accountant the whole way through it, and then just last week, I think, he was finally eligible to apply for forgiveness, and they went through the whole process, and he got denied 3 times. He said that they contacted and they were just denied. So he is not getting forgiveness for the PPP loan, and him and his accountant have no idea why. So I don't even have any information to pass on about that. See, if you have any questions, I don't have any answers. It was kind of a shock to me when he told me. But it is what it is. They didn't guarantee forgiveness, and that's why, if you watched any of my older videos on this stuff, I ended up giving the PPP money back because there was so much red tape with it all that I was like, I don't even want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with this at all. Like, I took the money because I needed it, but at the same time, I also applied for the unemployment thing. They both came in like around the same time, and I talked to my accountant. He was like, if you don't need the PPP, don't take it. Take the unemployment and just deal with that, and then we'll see what happens in the long run. I would have not guessed back then that this thing was going to get drawn out as long as it did. But I mean, I've been back to work and then out of work and back to work and out of work. It's just been a flip-flopping mess here. But anyway, that's not why you're here. You want to hear about the PPP, so let's talk. All right, so first things first. This is the Small Business Association's website. Again, I'll have a link for this down in the description. And this just talks about all the new guidance for this PPP. It's basically the same kind of deal, but they have changed things slightly. So I'm not going to read all this. You can go to their website and check it out. But there's some key updates here that they talk about. One of which that jumps out to me is they provide greater flexibility for seasonal employees. Now, this is not the official PPP thing. When the finally comes out, it will look like this. This is the first round of PPP. It's this 7-page document that is just like a lot of information. But right now they're just releasing this stuff, and they will, I assume, release that major one at some point. So here's some eligibility requirements for round 2. You have to have previously received a first draw. So I don't know if that means you can't do it unless you've already drawn from the first one and you run out of money. That's what it kind of sounds like. So right here, has no more than 300 employees and can demonstrate at least 25% reduction in gross receipts between comparable quarters 2019 and 2020. So that 300 employees thing is changed. The first round, it was 500 employees. And I read somewhere, we'll see if I can find it again right now, but they are trying to gear this more towards actual small businesses. You know, they claimed that the first time around and they got a lot of slack for giving millions and millions of dollars to big corporations who were claiming they were small businesses because they had less than 500 employees, which is totally true. But it kind of defeated the purpose. You know, these big corporations with big lawyers went in and they swooped up all the money. And then the little guys were left like, what about us? You know, we didn't have the resources to get in there and get the stuff as quick as they did. They got first dibs, the big companies. So that's why they're doing this. They're trying to make it more accessible for the small guy. All right, so now I'm going to show you 2 websites that I found a whole bunch more information on. One is Forbes.com and the other one is bmdllc.com. I'm just going to quickly look at a couple things on each of those, and then if you want to read them for yourself, the links will be down in the description. You can read the whole article. Hey, if you're getting anything of value out of this right now, go down below and hit that thumbs up button and consider subscribing to the channel. And if you do subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can be notified when I come out with new videos. And let me know if you have any videos that you want me to cover or any topics like this or any other business related stuff. I'm a general contractor, so this is not my specialty per se, but I do a lot of businessy type stuff on this channel. So feel free to let me know down in the comments. Okay, so I'm going to start with the Forbes article. From what I'm reading here in the first paragraph, it looks like they're calling it the Economic Aid to Hard-Hit Small Businesses, Nonprofit, and Venues Act. Economic Aid Act, signed into law on December 27th, 2020. Now on here, it says the main takeaways is that any business that did not receive a PPP loan previously or experienced a 25% reduction in revenue in one quarter can apply for a loan, which is slightly different than what I read on the SBA's website, but it was hard to decipher. So Forbes was kind of saying like, if you did not receive a PPP loan, you would apply. The SBA's website made it sound like you had to have already gotten a PPP and it expired, or you used it all and you're applying for more funds. So I'm not 100% sure which way that goes. You could always apply and find out if you need it. Okay, unlike the first round of PPP, however, while the method of calculating the new loans is the same, the new loans are capped at $2 million. So again, they're aiming towards smaller businesses. The first round was $10 million. So that's a big difference right there. And as I read on SBA's website, it's down from 500 to 300 employees. All right, so this says the interest rate will be 100 basis points or 1% calculated on a non-compounding, non-adjustable basis, which I assume means it's a fixed interest rate. Now, I had read somewhere else that it was a 3% fixed interest rate, so I'm not 100% sure which is true. I would assume this is, it doesn't say anything on SBA's website about the interest rate itself, so I'm not sure. And on the other website that I haven't got to yet, it doesn't say anything about interest rates. The loan maturity is 5 years. And I did read somewhere that there's no penalty for prepayment. So if you want to just pay it off early. So in this paragraph here, those businesses that are permanently closed cannot apply. So they want this to be money to keep businesses open so that when this stuff blows over, the business is still there. And then they have some new rules for restaurants, hotels, and other businesses that are under the NAICS code 72. So these businesses can calculate their loan amount by multiplying 1 month of 2019 payroll by 3.5 instead of 2.5, thus receiving more funds. This also applies to seasonal businesses and those without 12 months of operating history. Without 12 months of operating history. So if you're a new business that hasn't been open a full year, you can potentially get 3.5 instead of 2.5, as long as you're under this NAICS code 72. And if you're a restaurant or a hotel with multiple locations, as long as each one has fewer than 300 employees, each individual location may apply for a separate loan. The maximum loan amount across all locations, however, is capped at $4 million. So if you're a Hilton, if Hilton wants to go get money, they can only get $4 million. They can't get $2 million for each hotel all across the board because less than 300 people technically work at Hilton. So they've put in a cap there so that these big businesses can't find a loophole in there. So the Economic Aid Act also expanded the list of businesses that are now eligible to receive PPP loans. These groups include 501c organizations like the Chambers of Commerce, nonprofits, and religious entities, and local news organizations. Their loans are also capped at $2 million, though. In addition, the new law earmarked $15 billion in straight grants that do not need to be repaid for live entertainment venues, which were some of the hardest hit businesses due to COVID shutdowns, which includes theaters, museums, and zoos. Also includes businesses that represent performers. It is important to note that the main activity of a business must be live entertainment. So a restaurant that provides a nightly singer, for example, would not be eligible. The SBA also issued guidance on accessing capital for minority, underserved, veteran, and women-owned business concerns in an effort to address the main criticism of the initial PPP. This criticism, harsh at times, was that small businesses less than 10 employees, women and minority-owned businesses, and those in economically disadvantaged areas were shut out of the program, while large businesses, chains, and publicly traded companies received funding. And that's like what I was talking about earlier, where they're trying to focus this whole thing at the little guy versus the big guy. I think they're a little late for this. These people missed out on the first round, and now they're becoming eligible, and they're now going to have things specifically set up for them. But we'll see how this all goes. I'm not sure. So another way that they're going to try to do this is right here. The guidance outlines that the SBA will only accept loan applications from community financial institutions for at least 2 days after the loan portal reopens, and that it will engage in community and public outreach along with media campaign to promote the program and encourage these groups to apply. So again, they're really trying to help the smallest of the small businesses. Now, as far as forgiveness is concerned, borrowers still have to use 60% of the funds on payroll and 40% on expenses over a 24-week period. So there's very strict rules about how you use this money. So again, which is why you need an accountant to help you with this stuff. So in the first round, they did not allow you to deduct stuff from the money you spent for the PPP, which normally you spend your business money and it's a deduction on your taxes, but this is not considered income, so therefore you couldn't do that, but they needed you to spend 40% of it on expenses, so it became very confusing during tax time and all that. So they've apparently tried to fix that, and with this 2 paragraphs here, they talk in a whole lot of detail about it, more than I really understand, but they've had some apparently big changes in this round that are going to change that, and now the expenses paid for by the PPP funds are deductible. Right here is this last sentence. So there's a whole lot more information on that website than what I just read you. So go check it out for yourself. Again, there's a link down in the description for that website as well as the SBA's. Now, I'm actually not going to read anything off the last website, but there will be a link down there for it, the bmdllc.com. It's a lot of the same information. There's might be some other stuff trickled in. It's just more than I want to read, and I don't want to make this video longer than it already is. So all of that information will be down in the description. As I've said many times already, I just want to keep saying it, down in the description. There's also a whole bunch of other information about me and all my stuff down in the description if you feel like reading that while you're down there. If you got anything out of this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you liked it, consider subscribing to the channel. I mostly do construction videos, how-to videos, tutorials, tool reviews, stuff like that. But I also do a whole lot of business tips and stuff stuff like that, businessy stuff. I'm not just swinging a hammer. So consider subscribing to the channel and leave me a comment. Let me know if you have any questions. Not sure that I'm going to be able to answer them, but you could always leave me a question and I can try to answer it or at least point you in the right direction. Now, in past videos, when people have left comments or questions that I haven't been able to answer, a lot of other people have jumped in and given answers or references. So feel free to do that as well. All right. Thanks for your time and thanks for watching. See you on the next video.